Big announcement here. We have two big leaguers now heading up our performance department. Bobby Wahl on the pitching side, and surprise, Max Shrock on the hitting side. More information to come soon.
We're good? All right, Joey, episode 19. Had that ready. It's been a while, guys. Sorry, we've had a lot of cool things cooking up. Podcast I'm super excited about. Somebody that I've actually known for quite some time, actually. If we go back to your A's days.
Yeah.
More so knowing of each other. You were a couple classes behind draft-wise, but guys, kind of in the intro that we just did for the social media post, all the stuff that we bring to the table as far as data, biomechanics, the 3D, you name it. I mean, we got everything. So a big thing for me coming into this, like, okay, how can we make this better? How can we make this even more of a baseball place? We need hitting. So put out a message the other day, hey, looking for hitting instructors, and somebody that I respect and couldn't be more thrilled about having. We kind of spoke back and forth. It's been a process, but Max Shrock is going to officially be our leader here in hitting, and it's going to include lessons and with a ton more to come, kind of like we've done on the pitching side. So, Max, thanks for being here, dude.
Honored, actually. Kind of weird and how this all happened. And I mean, I stumbled upon this place really because I broke my leg.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was looking for physical therapy. And then I think actually that's kind of when we started floating the idea around. It was like, hey, why is this place only pitching? Because I was the only hitter in here.
Yeah.
And I think that is kind of where it all started, at least for me. Is like, well, this place could be so much more than just pitching, with all the technology that's in here, all the people that are here. I like, it could be growing to so much more than just that. And
Sure.
For me to have not even heard of this place as a hitter, and I grew up in the Triangle. So that's what I'm going to do right off the bat, is like just try and get this name out here and let people know that hitting is a focus.
Yeah, no, I love it. And kind of going off of that, you growing up in this area, one of our guys, Mitchell Stumpo, he brought up there's an urban legend going around that you would hit 600 balls off the tee like directly right after school. And I know there's a lot of different urban legends that you have around these parts, so if you can address some of those, please.
Okay, urban legend, 600 off the tee, false.
Okay.
But what I will say is I had one of those hitaways that you could like tie around the basketball goals.
Oh, yeah.
And I would wear those out. I went through like 5 of those, and I kind of liked the aspect of never having to put the ball back on the tee. So maybe that's kind of where it got a little mixed up, because I could believe 600 of those after school every day.
Yeah.
600 off the tee, not so.
Where do you think you got that level of dedication from? Like, what was it, something that your parents instilled in you? Was that just like a self thing that you had, or what do you got on that?
I honestly think it boiled down to, I was so active as a kid. Like, you couldn't stop me from going outside and running around. And I think it was just one way for me to get energy out when I was 8, 9 years old. And then I started playing organized baseball, and I was like, okay, maybe I could be pretty good at this. And, and then my parents came in. It was like, listen, you can do anything you put your mind to.
Yeah.
And when you're younger, I loved like those big jumps that you could see yourself make. So
like on the development side?
Just on the development side, yeah. Like if you put the work in, you can see yourself, like in games, you can see these jumps. And I think that's what motivated me more than anything when I was younger, is I would go out and I would feel like I was putting this work in, and then when I would get out on the field, I could see it.
Yeah.
I could see it.
Right. And I think that's what's so cool about baseball too. Like, it's a very unique, it's like golf in a lot of ways. It's a very skill-oriented sport. And you don't have to be, not to say a lot of baseball players and some of the best I've seen are very athletic, but you don't have to be the most athletic guy, so to speak. You can learn the skill acquisition part, and you can see those huge strides.
I think from that standpoint, I totally agree. It's such a repetition-based sport. Because like if you can hone in a swing and you can ingrain it, then you don't have to be the most athletic person in the world. You look at football players, and basically if you're not 350, 400 pounds, or you can't run fast, jump high, etc., you have no chance. In basketball, in baseball, you don't have to be tall. You don't have to be. I'm 5'8", 5'9" on a good day.
Yeah.
So I think the repetition standpoint, and I mean, it's the same for pitching. Like, I think if you can just ingrain these things over time and you do them enough, like anybody could play baseball at a high level.
Yeah, there are a lot of bad athletes on the baseball field. And that's not to say, like, I think athleticism plays a huge role in overall, like, ceiling.
Yep.
But I've seen, even at the highest level, and I'm sure you've seen it too, like, you watch some pitchers do PFPs and you're like, what the hell was that?
You're just thinking, how did you get here and how do you throw 100?
Yeah, exactly.
But like,
a lot of guys
there are guys that can't field a ground ball that's rolling at them 3 miles an hour, but man, once they get on the bump, they can throw 100. And it's like, how does it work? It's kind of what I was talking about. If you can hone in on these certain things that you do, like, anybody can make it happen.
Yeah. What other sports did you play growing up?
So my dad played basketball. Again, 5'8". My ceiling there was only so high.
Sure.
I feel like it did help with athleticism, and I think growing up, like, you should play all of them. I always wanted to play football, but I kind of got that inkling a little bit too late. I had kind of already committed to go to school.
Yeah.
And my dad, I totally agree with him on this, was like, hey, we're not going to have you go tear your ACL and, for some reason lose your scholarship or whatever. Like, let's just stay healthy, get you to South Carolina, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, I had that literal same conversation with my dad, I think my junior year of high school.
Yep. That's
where I had to give up football too, and it was, at that moment in time, you're like, this is the end of the world, this sucks. But I would like to think it worked out for you and I both.
Yeah, probably a good decision.
Yes. And you have to kind of grow up in that point, right? When you start to see, hey, baseball might be an option for me later on down the road. Let's minimize risk as much as we can. But, you'll know, and this is to the people listening that are maybe kind of torn between, sports or decision, you'll know when you have to do it. Yeah. Like, people will start to kind of come to you. Max, I know, we'll get into your career, college baseball at South Carolina here in a second. But, you start to understand, okay, what makes the most sense for me long term here? Is it going to play football? Like, do I have a chance to take this do I have a chance to make this a profession or not? And usually you kind of understand if you can or can't.
There's very few people out there that feel like they can do it in two sports.
Yeah. I mean, there's only so many Bo Jacksons.
Yeah.
So you will know when the time is right to kind of start to specialize. But until that point, play as many sports as you want. Basketball, football, golf, whatever it is, those type of movements, they all translate to baseball. So I think it's only making you a better baseball player. That being said, Max, so you, growing up in this area, went to Cardinal Gibbons.
I did.
What was that experience like? Because I know that's kind of a powerhouse in this area when it comes to baseball.
Yeah, and weirdly enough, I don't know that it was, but prior, and this has nothing to do with me, but I got some friends, and it was like they were kind of deciding whether they wanted to go to Gibbons or wanted to go somewhere else, and I got a couple of them on board to come to Gibbons, and then I know Coach Liebler has been there for a long time. He does good things, and even from the pitching side, Pete Sinopoli, who's been there, he's really good too.
All these guys are still there, correct?
Yeah. And it was a great experience. We had some good teams that fell short when it came to playoffs. We just could never kind of take that leap. We would kind of run into a good pitcher, and we just didn't when I was there have quite the depth. Cool story though, we did end up having on one team 3 eventual draft picks.
There you go. Well, that's pretty dang good. Right?
Myself, Robbie Thorburn, and Steven Scott were all on the team my senior year in 2012. And
same age, or were they younger?
I was a senior, Robbie Thorburn was a junior, Steven Scott was a freshman at the time. Steven Scott was drafted by the Red Sox, Robbie Thorburn by the Orioles, and myself by the Nationals.
Did you play with any of those guys in pro ball? Did you ever meet up with them? Like, did you ever
We never crossed paths. To my knowledge, I was close actually with both of them. I think we were like one level off at a couple different points in our careers, but yeah, we never actually crossed paths.
That's cool. No, it's very rare that you see that. High schools that have multiple draft picks or guys, playing pro ball, even college baseball for that matter.
Yeah.
What was your recruiting process like? And these are conversations that you're going to have a lot of with future people that you're working with. What was your decision like as far as choosing either, hey, should I go out of high school or, the University of South Carolina, we're talking national championships. What makes sense for me?
I did have an opportunity to get drafted out of high school. And just a little background on my family. My dad's an engineer. My mom is a professor at Meredith College there in Raleigh.
Cool. Okay.
So academics was a pretty big thing growing up for us. And it boiled down to like, hey, you can always fall back on your college degree. Like, that's one thing. So ended up going to college. I grew up a diehard Tar Heel fan, actually.
Right?
Yep, Dustin Ackley.
That's Chris off saying.
Yeah, Dustin Ackley was my favorite player of all time.
See the comp there.
I actually like took a lot of things from my swing, like, and tried to emulate.
Yeah.
You know, his. It was. I think it was a very good person for me to watch growing up, because he did a lot of things well. And thanks to my dad for this point. I mean, we went to like almost every single game.
Really?
Every home game pretty much we went to.
Because he was there, was that like 09, 2010-ish?
Yeah, 08, 09, 10, somewhere in that area. I was like 8th grade, 9th grade in that area. Those teams with, I think, Andrew Miller, Kyle Seager, they were all there together.
Did they win one that year? Or
I know they lost to Oregon State.
That's with Miller?
1 year.
Yeah.
I don't know if they ever won or not. We're going on like close to 15 years ago now. So
somebody the other day, this is completely off topic, we're playing like Disney themes in there. Somebody told me that Frozen is 10 years old, and it just like blew my mind.
That's a shocker to me as well.
Yeah, so I feel very old. But anyways,
so yeah, I grew up a diehard Tar Heel fan, and then my travel baseball coach growing up played for a team out of Johnson County, and he was good friends with Ray Tanner at South Carolina.
Yeah.
So I started going to camps down there, and it was kind of, I knew that I wanted to go to one of those places if I had the opportunity from a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
And I was fortunate enough to get the opportunity to go and have my pick. And it boiled down to, I just chose the place that was a little bit further away from home because I feel like I needed that.
Yeah.
Columbus 3.5 hours away, and I thought that was a perfect distance. Like, I could come home on the weekends if I really needed to in the fall. My mom wasn't gonna be knocking on my dorm room door trying to get me to go to dinner every week. I thought that would be good for me. So honestly, that was what it boiled down to. I think that's why I ended there. They won the national championships. I actually, when I was going through the recruiting process, it was kind of before that had even happened.
Yeah.
So that factored into it for sure. It was a nice little reassurance that I was going to a good program.
No doubt.
But it really boiled down to I wanted to get away a little bit.
No, that's interesting. And kind of for people listening, you don't always have to go with the dream school, the one you go. It's whatever the best fit is at that time. People change so much in life. And as you guys get older, right, from age 15 all the way up to 30 or whatever, there's going to be a lot of changes that happen. And so those decisions have to be made with your best interest as opposed to maybe what you grew up being a fan of.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. I didn't know that was kind of a big choice for you at crossroads, if you will.
It was a very difficult decision.
Yeah. Was there, parents pretty cool about saying like, hey, what do you think? How was that process like?
Yeah, I mean, even with the draft out of high school, it was always my choice. I actually wanted my dad to make the decision for me in high school. And I was like, can you just tell me what to do? And he just said, it's your life, son. Like, I don't think you can make a bad decision either way. And it was kind of like that with the college thing, too. It was, we think you're in a good spot either way. Make the decision that feels best to you. And that was South Carolina.
So going to South Carolina, and I'm not 100% sure, was there any national championships that you won when you were there? Or
no, so my first year at South Carolina was 2013. They won back-to-back national championships in 10 and 11. And then they went to the championship game in 12 and lost to Arizona. And then 13 was my first year, where oddly enough, we lost to UNC in the Super Regionals.
Oh, no. Talk about fate.
Yeah, so it was, I actually got to come home.
Was it your regional or is it UNC's?
It was UNC Super Regional, so we got to play here. It was fun. It was really fun getting to play it at the Bosch, and it stung though. I lost in game 3.
Yeah. Dang, I didn't know that. Well, sorry to bring that up, Max.
It's okay.
So kind of going on the rest of your career there, though, obviously you progressed at a pretty high level. I want to say there's another urban legend that you have at South Carolina. I think there is, and please correct me if I'm wrong, there was a pinch hit appearance where you had something wrong with you, I believe.
So I had rolled my ankle really bad. Maybe
what year is this? Your junior year?
This is my sophomore year.
Sophomore year.
I had rolled my ankle really bad maybe 2 days before.
Okay.
And I'm fighting to get in the lineup, like not fighting to get in the lineup, but I wanted to play.
Yeah.
And so my coach at the time says like, "Hey, do you think you can pinch hit?" And I'm like, I mean, I can't hardly walk, but like, he said, "Go put your phone or go put your foot up in the tub, take your phone with you, follow the game. Like, I'll have someone call you if you're going to hit." So I'm just in my sliders. I got my foot in the ice tub, and sure enough, I can't remember if it was a call or a text, like, "Hey, you're going to hit second next inning." So frantically freak out. I just put my phone right in my sliders and get dressed and go. Wasn't even thinking.
So you had your phone in your...
How my phone in my pocket, and in the video, you can see when I step on home plate, it had fallen down to the bottom of my shoe.
You're kidding me.
And I had thoughts of, I didn't even realize I had done it until I stepped into the box. And I start feeling my phone buzz. I had like people, Gamecock fans, tweeting at me and stuff like that. My phone was buzzing.
I didn't know this part.
Yeah. So I hit second base and I felt it shoot to my ankle, I guess, because I hit a game tying home run, and I'm so gassed up.
I want you to kind of paint the picture really quick though.
Okay.
What's the setting here?
I come down. I'm freaking out. I haven't taken a single swing all day. I remember the pitcher's name was Laxer. We were playing Ole Miss.
Yeah, it was Josh Laxer, who's a buddy of mine.
Yeah.
Teammate.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we were down by 3 runs, top of the 9th inning, maybe bottom of the 9th, regardless. He blows a fastball by me, blows another fastball by me, and then hangs a slider, and I hit a homer. And I'm so jacked up, I'm stomping around the bases as much as I can on a hobbled foot. And yeah, my phone shoots to my ankle, and it almost fell out as soon as I got to the dugout.
Did it really?
Yep.
God, that is incredible. I had no idea. So you literally had people like texting and tweeting at you while you're in the box.
Yeah, I could feel my phone buzzing like crazy.
What was the count when you hit the homer?
1-2.
So, you start getting buzzes, and you're like, "Oh my God, my phone's in my..."
I feel like in the video, you can see me feeling the side of my thigh.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, my phone is..." I didn't even realize what I was done. My phone is in my sliders.
That's sick.
Yeah, and so then it all turned out great, but it was funny when somebody was like, "Whose phone is this in the dugout?" I'm like, "Oh, it's mine."
The legend of Shrock grows. No, that's awesome, dude. I had no idea about that part of it. Cool, man. So we had that happen. I'm sure you kind of become like Gamecock legend. We go and play in the Cape, right? After your sophomore year? Is that right?
I played in the Cape after my freshman year. I played for about a month, and then I was already nicked up. I played every single game my freshman year, and I was kind of nicked up at the end of the year. We finished in Super Regional, so it was pretty late into the year. The Cape season had already started, actually. I got 2 days off and then got shipped up there. I played more baseball than I have in my entire life, and I had a stress reaction in my back after about a month, so I had to go home. But it was a great experience for the month that I was there.
And that was the only time you played up there?
That was the only time.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about Mike Roberts, because I know you were in Catuit, and because I was in Catuit 2011. So
Okay.
I played for Mike as well, and he's definitely a character.
He is.
Quick story on my end here, just to kind of give you a glimpse of what Mike Roberts is and how much baseball means to him. My dad and I are driving up to the Cape after my freshman season. Kind of like what Max said, I played a lot of baseball at that time, so I was pretty fatigued, not in a bad way, just kind of looking to kind of just have a fresh summer and enjoy it. I'm wearing Nike shorts and a t-shirt, and I get out of the car, and we're doing base running. And Mike Roberts is very known for base running. And I go up, I shake his hand, introduce myself, and he goes, "Hey, why don't you join practice?" I said, "Oh, Coach, I just got out of the car." He goes, No, it'll be good, man. Do some base running." I go, "Oh, I'm a pitcher. I got a little..." He goes, "No, I know. Doesn't matter." I'm like, "You sure? I don't have any pants, or I haven't ran the bases in a while." And he's, No, come on, it'll be good. So I literally, 2 minutes outside, or 2 minutes after a 10-hour car ride, I'm doing first and thirds and reading picks. So I'm diving back in my shorts. And I hadn't done this in years. But didn't mean to get off topic there. But that's kind of to give you a quick little overview of who Mike Roberts is as a coach. Baseball nut, baseball lifer. And he loves it. He loves it.
Yeah, there's not a better baseball guy to just be around if you love the game, because he lives, breathes, sleeps baseball. And it was so cool for me to be there around him. I mean, even in that month, there are some days though where it's like, man, we have early hitting at 11 a.m. We go for lunch, then we have early hitting in the cages, then batting practice, then infield, outfield. And if you think that you're going there to have a relaxing summer,
You're not.
you're not. You're going to get better at baseball, and it is a baseball forward mentality.
Yeah. Yes. There's baseball, and that's it. What do you think you learned the most, playing against some of the more elite competition in college baseball that year?
I think that's always been how I feel like you develop the most, is just playing the game and playing against the best competition possible. I credit my dad a lot because he was the one that pushed that and like on me at a young age, like, hey, this team wants you to play up. You should go play with them. You're going to be exposed a little bit, but that's part of it. You got to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Right.
And so I did a lot of that, and I think it was really beneficial to my development because it's kind of like sink or swim. And then there are also like some humbling checks in there. Like, okay, these guys are a year or two older than me, and it's like, okay, they're bigger, faster, stronger, and better at baseball than me.
Yeah.
He's like, and you're saying that's where I want to get to. So I think there's a little bit of, and as the old saying is, as soon as you think you have this game figured out, it will humble you in a heartbeat.
Yes.
So I think that that was really good for my development growing up.
No, I think that's well said. And there's so many different travel teams nowadays. Even these youth teams, I can't keep up with how many different travel teams there are as far as, at these young ages, showcase teams, little leagues, all that. So, when you're looking, I guess, to parents out there, when you're looking for the best fit for your kid, I would say, okay, where am I going to get better? Where are they going to get pushed and learn to be competitive, right? But also enjoy the game and not get burned out. I think that kind of gets lost in this whole thing too. We got to make sure that we're playing with friends and people that we enjoy being around, but also that push us and make us want to be better and kind of breed that, I guess.
Yeah, I think what gets lost in youth baseball a lot nowadays is, for one, it's like, I got to be on the best team, and it's like that might not be best. I think that if you were, and I played on a few teams growing up, some that even coincided with each other a little bit, but I think playing with your friends, playing with your closest friends, you're always going to enjoy that play better, and I think that is having fun is a large part of development as well. I mean, I think even from, I'm sure, a standpoint with you, from a direction standpoint here, you got to make it fun for the kids. It can't just be like you're throwing and be like, you need to change your grip. Like, there has to be some sort of fun involved to make kids want to keep coming back and keep going. Mm-hmm. I think that gets lost sometimes with how in competitive, youth baseball now is so competitive. And I think it's crazy. We lose sight sometimes of, this is a game and this is fun, it's about developing, and it turns into, we need to win. And I think that's something that everybody can work on and take a step back and look and say, am I having fun?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, it might be time to look somewhere else.
For sure. No, that's really well said, man. So everyone listen, that's kind of our advice when it comes to this type of thing. And the kids know too, right? They let you know. I mean, they're sometimes the most pure and clear-minded in this whole decision-making process when it comes to picking a team, because there's, they don't know any better. They just want to enjoy the game, and they'll know if they're ready to be pushed or not. Obviously, as parents, you need to be there to be able to push them and to put them in the right direction, but heed their advice as well.
Yep. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, and there's some times when there comes, hey, we're going to push through this. We're not going to quit, but at the same time, the kid can't be miserable for extended periods of time, because they're not going to get any better.
Yeah, and I think it's a good time to kind of bring up that whole Action Plus stuff that we're, kind of get involved with, and which I'm really excited about, is teaching these kids how to throw properly. I think a lot of the times as parents and as coaches, we kind of what you're saying, we want to win, and we don't necessarily teach the right things from a development side.
Yep.
So the sooner that we can kind of ingrain good habits from a drill perspective, because a lot of guys are doing the forearm flicks and things like that, and what is that really doing? Not the best. So we want to kind of make a innovative approach to how player development works on the youth side. So with that being said, the whole Action Plus thing, it's like a six-week program. There's a lot of interactive videos, drills, different strength and conditioning things, arm care, you name it for the kids. We're more excited to do it. Max is going to bring a really cool element to that as well on the hitting side. So stay tuned for that. We're really excited because I think that's a very, that's a group that needs the proper guidance within player development and to learn the right things at a young age.
Yeah, and I think bringing hitting to this, to Action Plus, I think it'll be somewhat of a refreshing thing for some people because I will be perfectly honest, I am more of an old school approach to hitting. Now, there are some things that I have taken from this this new kind of school of these new drills and stuff like that, but when it's all said and done, you have to be able to hit. And I think that that's what we're losing sight of on the younger side now is because there's so many people that are out there teaching so many different things, and some of it is kind of quirky, and I'm not saying some of it doesn't work. Some of the quirky stuff does work, but we can't lose sight of being able to hit. And I think, at least what I have in my mind for Action Plus, I think it's going to be all-encompassing. You're going to learn how to hit, but there's also going to be some, we're going to introduce some bat speed stuff and how to increase that the correct way.
Yeah.
Like movement patterns, stuff like that. So we're not losing sight of being a baseball player and being a hitter as well.
Yeah, the pitching side, that's a challenge that we face all the time, right? Because we don't want to be, for lack of a better term, like a facility place where like you kind of go and you just kind of get lost in the player development side. Obviously, that's what we specialize in, and that's what we do really well in. However, we also want to make sure that we're playing baseball and we're playing at a very high level.
Yeah.
So even if like we're for our pro guy or for our pro guys, and then our high school group, we'll Wednesdays I usually do like Shrock PFPs. So like just things like that to kind of make sure that we're maintaining the baseball element, I think is crucial.
Yeah. Being a baseball player first, you can never lose sight of that. We can't become robots, and I had said old school approach earlier, and I don't want to lose sight of like you still have to be adaptive, and there's all kinds of stuff that is coming out. It just, you need to be selective on what you're doing, and if you can make it player specific, that's ideal.
And I think that's what's really cool about you and myself here, like having all of the data in the world, the 3D, the TrackMan, like all of it, right? What makes this place unique is the ability to translate that and to make it a fun, and it's not easy to understand, but there's a better trajectory to player development because we're not overloading with information and terms that maybe the kids might not understand.
Yeah.
We're able to kind of take all the complex aspects of this player development stuff and try to make it into baseball and to make it make sense to the kids.
For sure.
So kind of back to you, Max. We get drafted by the Nationals after our junior year.
Yep.
You were traded fairly quickly after that.
Didn't get my feet settled in with the Nationals.
How quick was that?
I was drafted in 2015. I played my first short season with them after my junior year, 65 games or so. Come back, get ready for spring training, first full season, and I'm having a great year, and I hadn't even thought about being traded. I'm in A-ball at the time, and all of a sudden, I get a phone call from the farm director, and it's like, call me. Oh, man. And your immediate thought there is, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
And it was very short. It was, you've been traded to the Oakland Athletics. Basically, thank you for your services, and that's it. You'll be hearing from their side, and I was on a plane going to Stockton, California in 2 days.
That's crazy. And that was 2014?
That was in 2016. So I was drafted in 15, traded in 16 for left-handed relieving specialist.
Last name?
Mark Zubchinski.
Yep, Zubchinski. So I was on, with the A's at this point when Max got traded. And I knew, Zep a little bit from spring training and stuff. So it's like, oh, cool. I wonder who we got in return. And then knowing, playing with a former teammate of yours in college, Joel Seddon.
Yep.
And knowing Matt Chapman and some of these other guys, all I heard was Max Shrock, this, that. And it was, it's like, I've got to meet this guy. We never really got a chance to hang out or meet a whole lot.
I think the way that the A's did spring training, it was a bit segregated between pitchers and position players.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
There was, you were on one side or the other, basically.
Yeah.
But I thought it was cool. We got to kind of experience. Like I remember the locker rooms were very much that way, where it's like you were around your pitchers and that's it, and you really didn't get a chance to be around position guys until game time, and then at that point you're kind of locked in on.
You're in game mode then.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember talking to a lot of those guys because I got drafted with like Chad Pinder and some of those other dudes, and they always spoke very highly of you. So just crazy how this whole world works, man. Like now here we are,
full
sitting
circle,
together.
wild. We're sitting here at the facility having a chat.
Yeah, no, exactly. So we get to the A's. What was that like? It was fairly quick too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I have nothing bad to my time with the A's is great too, but I was not there for long either. I got ready for spring training with the A's that next year. That was 2017. Got sent to Double-A. Had another really good year. Played the whole year there in Double-A in Midland, and then
Hard place to hit.
I managed to make it work. It actually favors my game a little bit, actually, to be honest with you. But
yeah, the wind, I feel like you could just kind of play your game there.
I just could hit line drives everywhere. That was kind of my game.
Yep.
And then that next winter at winter meetings, I don't know if you remember the Stephen Piscotty deal with his mom with ALS.
Oh, yeah.
He was from Oakland, so he was in St. Louis at the time. And I was in that deal involving him going from St. Louis to Oakland so that he could be near his mom, who had ALS. It was me and Jairo Munoz for.
Jairo played the big leagues too, right?
Yep, Jairo played in the big leagues as well, and we went over to St. Louis in that deal, and then that's where I got to AAA. I played a couple years in AAA, and then was fortunate enough to make my debut in the big leagues with St. Louis in 2020. That kind of weird COVID year, which was an interesting time.
Was there an element to you, because I've been traded a couple times too, I'm curious, like when you get traded, obviously like there's like that initial like excitement, right? Like, okay, I'm going to, a new organization, they obviously like me, but then it's like, why am I not staying here? Like what kind of ran through your head at that point?
So I think the cool thing definitely is like, okay, these people are willing to give up major league assets for you. Like for me,
it was a hell of a player.
Yeah. And so that is always a good thing, but then at least in my head, and I couldn't get away from it. So I had my first 2 full seasons in the minor leagues, played really well. And I kept thinking like, okay, I keep getting traded. And I'm like, if I could just stay with one team for a couple years, like they know I can play, they know I can hit.
Yeah, right.
I have something to fall back on. I felt like I was starting from a clean slate with every organization that I went to. And I was like, it helped me. It was good, but I felt like I could never fall back on anything. I had to start from zero, foot on the gas, show these guys what I had to offer because they didn't know.
Right.
So it was a little unsettling that you'd played well and you don't have anything to fall back on. But at the same point in time, it kept me hungry. It was like I was going out there every day and trying to show these guys who I am as a player.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. But there is a very large psychological element to getting traded. I think fans and, mostly fans, they kind of see on the bottom line, the ticker there, like Max Shrock traded for Stephen Scott is like, oh, it's just a transaction.
Yeah.
But there's so much more that goes into it. You have to move your family if they're with you, your apartment.
Yep.
You've been for me, when I got traded, like being with the A's for 7 years, 6 years, whatever it was, and like I had such good relationships with all the staff, the players, and all of a sudden, boom, you're gone. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, see, what I missed the most was I was like just getting to know people and starting to form relationships, and then it was like, okay, now you're gone, and you got to do that all over again. Learning everyone's name is hard because
very hard
for people that have never played professional baseball. There's a lot of names that you are expected to know, and from a front office standpoint, and you better know them quick.
Yeah.
Because if they come and speak to you and you don't know their name, that's an immediate knock on you. So it's like, there's been plenty of times where I've gotten traded and like the first thing I do is go to Google and like look up their front office, trying to put faces to names.
You're on the
like
flight
that.
Probably doing that.
You're like, okay, I need to know this guy. I need to know this guy. I need to know this guy. And because it's expected.
No, 100% right. I just want to point that out. Like there is that aspect to it. It's not just a pure transaction. Hey, boom, boom, you go back and you fit in right away, and that's why you see a lot of trades sometimes maybe not work out the way that it might should. I guess. So what was your debut like? I mean, I know I got a chance to. First, we played each other in 20. Is that 18?
18. You punched me out on like 4 pitches.
No, that's not true. I might have once, but I know you hit a ball off me that was like in the bottom of the ninth, and it gave me a little bit of a scare. I do remember that.
Okay. I remember the punch out more than anything.
All right. Walk me through both if you remember both, because I
honestly, I will be honest. This is and this is a horrible thing. I don't even remember the hit.
we'll pull up the film.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
think he was still an out though, but it gave me a scare, like warning track.
Okay. Yeah, the second one, the punch out, we were in Vegas, and I had not been feeling too hot, and my kryptonite, at least at the time, was the high spin 4-seam heater, which was the Bobby Wahl specialty at about 101.
Well.
So it was a pretty quick at bat. I think I don't even know that you went to any off speed. I think it was 3 heaters. I might have laid off one up out of the zone 0-2, and then you kept climbing the ladder, and I fell for the bait.
That's so funny though, because I don't remember that. I remember the one that you almost.
Funny how that happens. You always remember the bad ones.
Yes, dude. Like I don't remember punching you out. I remember you like barreling a ball. I'm like, that might be game over. Because I think I might have walked a guy or usually walked a guy and had somebody on base.
No idea. Don't remember that at all.
That's funny, dude. So yeah, wanted to get that at bat out of the way, or guess a couple. But you get to make your debut, like you said, in 2020. What were the emotions like? Kind of walk me through that day. What were the first phone calls, all that?
So it was so weird from the very start of this whole thing, because the COVID year in all of sports was wild. No fans, no nothing.
Strange.
The Cardinals at the time were basically the first breakout team where they had the COVID thing break out. I don't know. That's no fault of our own, but it just was spreading like crazy. And so we were stuck in the Pfister Hotel in Milwaukee.
That's the haunted one.
The haunted hotel. We were there. Yep.
That was in Milwaukee at the time.
I think we were stuck there for 9 or 10 straight days.
Is that right?
And I got the phone call while I was in my room from the manager. Actually called me, and he told me that I was going to be activated once we got back home. And so I was obviously super excited. Called my wife first, and she's, in tears. I get to call my parents or FaceTime them. They're so excited. They obviously weren't allowed to come to the debut, which kind of stunk, but was fortunate enough to play some more. But it was the second leg of a doubleheader against the Chicago White Sox in Chicago, and I will not lie to you. I don't care that there was not a soul in the stands. When I ran over that chalk, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it right now. It felt like I was a major leaguer, and there was no one that could take that away from me. Whether I played in that game only or I went on to play some more, it was like a feeling I'll never forget.
Yeah, I mean, you worked your ass off your whole entire life for that type of moment, man. Like that's, even if it is just a day, and like obviously you've had more than just that.
Yeah.
But that's something that nobody can take away from you, and that you've earned, and you worked since you were really at 5 years old or whatever old you started.
Yeah, pretty much.
To that point, and it's like that was the culmination of all of those things, and a lot of things happened right along the way.
Yeah.
But things that you did to put yourself in that place, and that's what I try to remind a lot of these high school kids about. That might want to come in here and goof off and have fun, and that there's a time and place for that,
for sure.
But if we don't want to look back 5 years down the road and be like, damn, I wish I would have done a little bit more.
Yeah.
And that starts at those young ages, I think.
For sure. I will say it was that was always my dream. I always had that in the forefront of my mind when I was working out. You're sweating like crazy in the summer in North Carolina because it's 100 degrees and it's so humid and whatnot. It was always what I worked for, and it was still so special, and I won't ever forget it.
Yeah. So we go to the Cubs for a little bit there.
Yep.
Then we make our way over the Cincinnati Reds, who you spend a good amount of time with.
The Reds was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. St. Louis was once everybody got healthy from the COVID stuff, rosters shook out. There wasn't really a place for me. Cincinnati Chicago took a shot on me. Then kind of the same thing happened with off-season signings. I basically was with Chicago just for the off-season.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cincinnati took a chance on me coming the next year, and it was great. I do not have a single bad thing to say about Cincinnati. I loved the staff when I was there. I loved the players when I was there. I loved the city. And it was really my first chance where I got to kind of get an opportunity to get some extended looks of playing time.
Right.
Injuries kind of made it a little difficult for everyday play, but it was great. I spent the 2021 and 2022 seasons in Cincinnati, and it was great. That's when my parents got to come out. I got to play in sold out stadiums. It was
Baseball kind of a gift.
for sure. Like I said, I'll never forget that feeling of stepping over the line in Chicago in 2020. But I remember my first day. I missed making the opening day roster, but I would think I was called up within 8 or 9 days.
Okay.
And my first time when I stepped out in Cincinnati, it was on a Saturday, I think, and it was rocking. And I was like, okay, this is
different.
This is the show.
Yeah.
This is the big leagues right here.
It's almost like making your debut twice, dude.
I know. That's kind of what I tell people. It's like I kind of got 2 of them because it was a completely different feeling in 2021 when I stepped on that field too.
Cool,
and I was under the lights and I got to see cameras going off, the buzz of the fans. It was sweet.
That is cool. Yeah, you get to have 2 different kind of debuts.
Yeah.
And to have your parents in the stands.
Yeah.
That's what you wait for. I feel like.
Yeah. And it was so cool just seeing how honored my parents were after the game, like how proud they were, I guess.
Yeah.
And cause like, man, you gotta remember like both my parents. I mean, not only are they spending times driving everywhere to different tournaments, to working out, to whatever it may be, but man, my dad threw countless number of baseballs my way growing up, and he was really my hitting coach. I didn't have any real like fancy hitting coaches growing up. It was kind of like my dad golfed growing up, and I think he kind of took a lot of things he took a lot, and he watched a lot of baseball too, and that's kind of why we went to those UNC baseball games. He was the one that was kind of hey, watch Ackley swing. He's really good. Kind of emulate what he does, and that was it. I mean, I didn't really have any like real hitting coaches, which I think is really cool because that moment I got to share with my dad when he got to hug me after the game was pretty cool.
Meant a lot. I'm sure. What do you think from going off that a little bit, like in the big leagues, especially when we get to Cincinnati where you spent majority of your time with us in the big leagues, like who was kind of like your guy in the clubhouse or somebody you tried to kind of watch from approach wise or, that type of thing?
Oh, I was fortunate enough to be in the same clubhouse as Joey Votto, so it's kind of hard to not.
It's hard at bat, dude. The hardest at bat.
You obviously want to watch what he does, and the way that Joey goes about his business every day. I mean, when I played with him, he was 38, 39, 40 years old maybe, and he probably worked harder than anybody from a nutrition standpoint. And he would say it's because I am 40. I'm almost 40. I got to work harder than everybody else.
Sure.
So that was cool. There were a few other guys like the way that Tyler Naquin was able to create so much juice from he's not a big frame.
Yeah.
I got to play with him.
He threw like 100 in college, dude.
And he has a bazooka.
Yeah.
And so there were some cool things in his swing that I liked and I kind of tried to emulate. I mean, Nick Castellanos, from a pure hitter standpoint, that guy, it's hard to get better than him.
Jumps off the barrel there, man.
And he's special up here. There's nobody I've ever seen that's more mentally tough than that guy, and with him, all he wants to do is win.
Yeah.
I think he's in a great spot there in Philly. I think that it's a perfect just place for him to be, and I would expect him and Harper to win a World Series here in the not too distant future.
Very surprised they didn't this year.
Yeah.
That roster is loaded, and I think they have the right group there from a mentality standpoint as well. To be able to perform in Philly.
Yeah.
Because that's not the easiest place to play in any sport.
No, I actually have never played in Philly as a visitor, but I have heard it is you better be ready to hear some things.
Yes, I had the, I guess, pleasure, if you will, to play there. We had a series there, and if you're playing well, man, there is no better place in the world than I feel like playing for a Philadelphia team.
They're some of the most. They're probably the most passionate fans in the country.
Be up there.
Yeah,
they have to be. The Northeast teams. I mean, Boston, New York. It's just different.
Yeah,
I think there's more history there. You have more lineage when it comes to fan bases. It's kind of passed down. It's almost like a rite of passage. But they get after it. It's a completely different world.
Yeah, I've heard.
So let's kind of just go into your approach, what you're excited about, a couple of finishing thoughts here.
Okay.
From an approach standpoint, what can people expect from a teaching perspective? Like what is it you bring to the table for them?
Like I kind of alluded to earlier, like I do have this, again, with my frame and everything, I couldn't be trying to launch balls out of the ballpark. And I think that over the years, I've kind of figured out how to have this kind of hybrid approach. I used to be more of a, like, okay, keep everything in the middle, hard ground balls, line drives. And I did get away from that a little bit because I don't think that it's the most successful way. Even, hitting 300 is great. When I was younger, that was the big thing. I want to hit 300. And that's all well and good, but now in today's game, you see where all the money is going, and it's the guys that
Homers and doubles.
If you're not a big guy, who says that you can't hit 50 doubles in a year? So I changed a couple things in my approach that I think are a good mentality for all hitters. I don't care if you can hit a ball 500 feet, or I don't care if you are the guy of my stature a little bit more. I think some things like seeing how much you can create on your backside before you release the barrel and how you can use the ground, it translated really well for me the past couple years with just extra base hits. I think the mark that I look for now more than anything is that 800 OPS. Like, I think that if you can get north of that 800 OPS, like, you're a productive hitter.
You're doing something right.
If you're hitting 275, but you can get above that 800 OPS, even if you're hitting 260, 265, you can get over that 800 OPS, like, you're doing the right things. I'm also a very, very, like, contact minded. There's some things that I can do from a hand-eye standpoint that I like to do personally that I think help, and that's where, in my mind, the game is lost right now.
Okay.
These guys that have the 35% strikeout rates, I don't care what kind of analytics you can put in front of me. Striking out 35 to 40% of the time, you are useless at bat 35 out of 100 times. You're bringing absolutely nothing to the table. And I think what most people say is, oh, well, if you pair that with homers, they offset. And we can go back to, like, the war thing in the big leagues, the war stat. You look at Kyle Schwarber, and he hit close to 50 homers this year, but he struck out 200 times, hit 200. Like, right. He was barely, or $197 maybe, something like that. And and no knock on Kyle Schwarber, obviously. It worked. Phenomenal player. Yeah. But from a wins above replacement, so comparing him to the average player, he's only slightly above average. So I think that there needs to be some sort of hybrid between the two of them that makes this complete hitter. And I'm more about creating complete hitters rather than specializing in one thing. I'm not going to get kids and be like, okay, let's see how hard you can hit the ball. I think that creates bad habits. It creates bad mentalities. And I think when kids get to the point where they're seeing curveballs and seeing off-speed pitches, it just leads to strikeouts.
Yeah, swing and miss.
Yeah.
And I thought something, when we had our initial talks, before we made this official, that really resonated with me was that you don't want to watch Aaron Judge swing. You want to watch the little guy that can generate a lot of power.
Watch a guy like Mookie, Jose Altuve. What do those guys do? How are they able to hit 35, 40 homers a year?
Like, no, of course, Judges, he's 6'9", phenomenal player, but, like, if you want to get better and develop, because not everybody is Aaron Judge. There's only so many human beings that are 6'8".
There's very few people that are
Aaron Judge. There's so many people that are 6'8", 200, however many pounds he is, and can just touch a ball, and it goes 400 feet. Like, there's not very many people like that. So when you said that about, I want to watch the small guy and how they generate power, that really was like, that's a pretty cool saying. Because on the pitching side of things, like, do you really want to watch the super powerful guy that can just throw really, or do you want to watch the little guy that can throw a 98 to 100? That is the efficient mover right there.
That's the guy who those movements are the ones that you want to be implementing into your swing. And I'm not saying that Aaron Judge doesn't have movements, but I think that we are trying to pick things out of his swing, and we lose track of, okay, this guy is a freak of a human being. And
he's Blake Griffin playing.
But you know who else is a freak of a human being? Mookie Betts. That guy has to be one of the best athletes in the entire world.
100%.
Like, he can bowl 300 games. He can go run crazy football routes. He can dunk a basketball. He can do, like, that.
He's not big.
That's the guy I want to be trying to emulate.
Right.
It's not Aaron Judge, because I am not Aaron Judge. I will never be Aaron Judge.
Nobody is.
No one is. So I want to be emulating the guy that like is creating something from nothing.
Something different than.
And that's where I think I alluded to earlier, using the ground. Mookie uses the ground really well. Separation, crazy, which, I mean, there is some God-given stuff there that is, but you can work on that kind of stuff as well. You can't work on being 6'8", 350 pounds.
You either got that or you don't tag, man.
Yeah.
That's
so
kind of there.
I think that's somewhere that, like, those are things that he does really well that a lot of people don't do, and those are things that you can work on.
That's awesome. Anything final that you want to bring or say to the audience out there that you're excited about?
No, I'm just really looking forward to getting going. I think I have a pretty cool vision alongside you of what we can bring to the table, and I'm just excited to start.
It's awesome. Max Shrock, everybody. Couldn't be more excited. You know, he brings an element that not many people do. You know, we're really excited to grow this thing together, and just it's going to be a lot of fun. So stay tuned.